Greetings, what is up, and a very warm welcome to the channel. The sun is hiding and the magpie is casting, coming to you guys this fine morning with a live 1 versus 1 battle, fresh from the ladder, featuring a spawning in the west. It is going to be the Overcommand West pieces of PFC. And a spawning in the east. Curiously enough, for the first time on this channel, it's going to be one man playing himself. It's a mirror match, PFC versus playing as the American pieces, PFC. And the map here is going to be Colony Farm. So yes, jumped onto the live games ladder this morning. Oh, there we go. Sorry, just adjusting some settings there. Jumped onto the live games ladder this morning to find, curiously enough, a game between PFC and themselves. So, rumors have reached me. Somebody was very kind enough to post in the comments section on my channel that there is indeed somebody who likes to mimic other players' screen names, and if the system lets you do this, then it's a thing you can do. That's my stance on that. I've no idea which of these two is the real PFC. I'm not even sure there is a real PFC. Maybe they've always been two people. I don't know. But yeah, couldn't decline the opportunity to cast for the first time a game between the same player. So that's just, even that sentence doesn't make sense. A game between the same player, singular. Interesting, very interesting. Well, it looks like PFC is going to be going for a Kuba Wagon opening, while PFC is going up to his third squad of riflemen. Looks like PFC here going to be going for the Heavy Cav Company, whereas PFC yet to choose a commander. He's got Luftwaffe Ground Forces Doctrine, Ground Offensive Doctrine, and the Overwatch Doctrine. So PFC there got a nice roster of 3 Overwatch commanders with which to take on PFC's Pershing commander here. So yeah, very much looking forward to seeing how PFC is gonna navigate this into a sort of Pershing late game here. We'll have to see. Pershing is, I reckon, pretty good on this map. Yeah, we've got a fight coming down here between Volks and Riflemen here. Looks like PFC probably going to be gaining the upper hand as this skirmish moves on. Volks Grenadiers here being forced back here. PFC's Riflemen holding the day. PFC's last Volks Grenadier squad going to try and hold the line here, but they desperately need help. Storm Pioneers are in the hood, but they won't be here in time, so it looks like those Storm Pioneers just going to go ahead and capture a munitions point here for PFC instead. Let's see. Let's quickly check the tech. Is it going to be a Lieutenant? It is indeed going to be Lieutenant Tech here for PFC, so that makes a lot of sense. Not only is it, in my opinion, just the stronger, better tech, it is, I think, also, specifically on this map, the utility car and the Stuart are just really strong. Because of the way this map has, like, 3 different lanes, we're going to see smoke pots come down here, actually, to try and save these riflemen. PFC opting to spend munitions to try and stop PFC from wiping this squad. And yeah, I just reckon that this, because, here, let's crack the tack. Because this map essentially has 3 lanes, you've got sort of north up here, you've got middle here, and then you've got south down here. Because you have these 3 lanes, it's actually quite, it makes light vehicles quite survivable. You're never far away from being able to dive into cover or transition into an area of map where whatever anti-tank gun or thing it was that was threatening your light tank no longer has line of sight, and you're able to scurry away to relative safety. So I think this is a fine map for a Stuart or a utility car. So yeah, I guess we're going to see 1, 2, or more or less of those units constructed by our American player PFC as this game goes on. Let's check the tech here for PFC. Looks like it's going to be a Schwerve Max Schlepper here. Well, obviously, I mean that is not essentially. I mean, did I just say that? What is the tech for our OKW player? It's a truck. He has opted to build building tech. That is what he's going to go for. Looks like PFC's Volks Grenadiers here heroically going to find a cutoff. That is super relevant, cutting off as it is fuel and munitions, and a regular cutoff, and a regular resource point even. PFC though, quick to respond, going to be bringing in 3 squads of riflemen, Lieutenant here in support as well. So an annoying but thankfully brief cutoff here for PFC. Not going to cost him too many resources. 50 cal going to be the first choice off of this Lieutenant Tech. Interestingly enough, representing already something of a slight departure from the build queue that we're sort of, the build order that we're used to seeing out of American players here. Wow, these Storm Pioneers likely to get wiped out here. The Lieutenant in hot pursuit, Tommy gun locked and loaded. How did that Storm Pioneer get out of there? Well, that's pretty massive, if I'm honest. Storm Pioneer is obviously an expensive squad. That would have been a crippling blow for PFC if he was to lose that squad at this point in the game, and a heavy manpower toll he would have been, obliged to pay to replace that squad. But lucky for PFC, PFC's Lieutenant missing PFC's Storm Pioneer there, and he's going to be able to get out with that unit just intact there. Second 50 cal getting added onto the roster, and we've got a big scuffle here for mid. Volksgrenadiers holding the church and trading for damage for as long as they can, but it ain't going to be very long. We've also got a scuffle up here in north. Looks like the Kubelwagen scraping away with a pixel here. PFC getting super lucky. PFC's rifleman unable to find the kill there. And yeah, it looks like the Kubelwagen going to scurry away to fight another day. Rear Esh getting displaced in south there. Volksgrenadiers looking strong. Let's crack the tack, and we can see PFC able to connect quite a lot of area here. The American player pushing out and grabbing the lion's share of the map, and finally, of course, able to connect it with his cutoff here. So looking to be dominant, as you'd expect an American on Lieutenant Tech to be. While it seems for PFC, it looks like Mechanized Regiment HQ going to be the choice, and they're going to be going for a Panzer II here. And you have to think, actually, given that we don't have a Stuart on the queue just yet, that's going to line up quite well. Time will tell, of course. He does have Stuart fuel right now, does PFC, so we could see PFC counter the Panzer II with a Stuart as this game moves on. STG starting to pop up on some of these Volks. Mine's going to be plying their evil trade here, blowing up a couple of dudes, forcing back this squad. Turbo annoying right now for PFC, who, it's fair to say, under a lot of pressure right now. Let's crack the tack, and you can see this this cutoff here severely limiting the income for PFC. So he needs to break back out on the map, and he looks like he has Volksgrenadiers who are going to be hastily reconnecting these points. Are these guys actually capping? Yeah, they are. So he's going to hastily reconnect his fuel and hopefully his munitions. 50 cal though, sneaking into the hood here for PFC. Might have something to say about this. Has units in arc, but unable to fire due to lack of line of sight right now. Looks like a secondary 50 cal. What? This is a pretty crazy MG position he's got here. Kubelwagen's been repaired, that one now back on the front. These very lucky Storm Pioneers likewise reinforced and coming back out to deal some damage. The Panzer II, the de facto hard counter to this 50 cal hardpoint here. PFC able to dislodge the two machine guns of PFC out of this section of the map, and that's going to enable his units to go about their business, capping ground, pushing out. And it is going to be a Stuart here for PFC. Okay. So that makes a lot of sense. When you see that your opponent, PFC, has already committed to a Panzer II, then you can definitely go for this Stuart, safe in the knowledge that it's going to provide quite a lot of value, being able to curtail the effectiveness of pretty much every unit that we see up here. Luftwaffe Ground Forces Doctrine going to be the choice here for PFC, and he's going to be parachute dropping some of the elite infantry in on this location here, looking to get some behind-the-lines action done. Why can I hear Panzer II firing? Ah, here it is. Okay, so, yeah, actually, firmly able to reverse. I was just saying, PFC with a lot of work to do to break out of his base, and now, indeed, PFC able to connect large swathes of the map here. The American player now sort of compressed into a very compacted position here. Going to have to break his way out. Now, the Stuart will go a long way towards helping with that, but if PFC is able to take a smart engagement here, then it could mean early game domination for PFC, which... which would be really nice. Yeah, I think if PFC is able to hold this line, then things look super grim for the American player. But he does have 3 squads of riflemen, a lieutenant with Zook, 2 50 cals, and a Stuart. I mean, he has the tools. They really ought to be able to push out onto the map right now. So let's just quickly... Okay. As I have a sip on my drink. Alright, so American forces managed to find some purchase in the south. PFC unable to respond right now. Looks like a Stuart, actually. Sorry, a Stuart. A Puma going to come onto the queue to counter the Stuart, which also makes a lot of sense. The Puma, just good on this map. Scales really well into the late game against American forces if you're able to keep it alive and get some veterancy onto it. And of course, handily, it answers the Stuart very concisely, so... We'll soon see if PFC is able to take a fight here where he's able to leverage his Panzer II, his Puma, and hopefully one or more Shreks off of these infantry squads to cobble together a kill onto the American light vehicle here. That Puma just about to enter the field. Now, Panzer II, though, noticing that the Stuart is away, PFC going to commit this light tank into PFC's cutoff here, and looking to inflict some losses here. He has a 50 cal down on the very low. Going to stay around to try and get the wipe on that, and that would be annoying. Lieutenant here going to ping away with a Zook, but it's actually not going to be enough. Oh, changing the targeting to deal with this Lieutenant. Jesus. The Panzer II at this range utterly eviscerates infantry, doesn't it? Whoa! Can't be losing this Lieutenant here right now. That does not feel very smart. Definitely some squad wipeable shots being taken there, but none of them actually finding a hit. So PFC getting quite lucky. PFC perhaps unlucky not to find the hit. And what's this? We got an anti-tank rifle grenade coming down. No, sorry, that was a Faust coming through, I think, onto the Stuart there, breaking the engine. Vehicle crew repairs for the Americans, though. Ever the super fast way of getting around that kind of thing. Let's crack the tack here. We have a moment of quiet. We can see the state of play right now, and it's a pretty nice situation for PFC. He's managed to secure himself 2 of the victory points, has fuel, munitions connected, a nice, very mobile Axis roster capable of running rigs around this American roster and hopefully curtailing him into his base. Lots of American units right now on the fallback, so going to be difficult for PFC to make a concerted push anytime soon, which gives an opportunity for PFC to tighten the noose, pushing in ever closer and trying to keep the American player back. Stuart here getting up top of these Fallschirmjäger. They have to fall back. They're so clustered. Oh, this is horrible. Why are we not falling these back? PFC. Oh, there we go. Needs to be paying attention. PFC pouncing with the Stuart. Now the Fallschirmjägers are so low. They're taking a lot of fire here, but I think they just about managed to get away with it. A lot of lucky fallbacks in this game. We've had Storm Pioneers and the Fallschirmjäger now just about escaping by a whisker for PFC, while we saw earlier the Lieutenant of PFC also managing to squeak away from a fight where it looked like the Panzer II might be able to gun him down. Anyway, Puma is now here on the field, present and correct, and this represents another thorn in the side for PFC, who's going to have to try and... I mean, it almost feels like he needs Captain Tech now. It does feel like he needs M1 anti-tank guns. We'll have to see. Massive American blob moving out here, gets immediately spotted by PFC, so I imagine we're going to see Axis units respond, but looks like PFC also pushing in the south, looking to tax PFC's multitasking and attention here by going for a split push. Looks like the Kubelwagen will be forfeit here, just not scurrying back fast enough. And that's a shame, but you never expect Kubelwagens to last too long. It's always a bonus rather than an expectation when they make it into the mid and late game with Stars of Veterancy. So yeah, it looks like that Kubel going to go down here. But the meat of PFC's army still intact. Yikes, what was that? Oh yeah, sorry, Zook coming out of this building. Catching the Panzer II there. You know what? This composition, ever since he went for the early double 50 cal, I feel like PFC really wanted to have access to a light gun to counter these, to counter PFC's 50 cals. But of course he doesn't have the battle gripper tech, and I can't blame him for that. This Panzer II and this Loops have looked really smart. But if he can mix in a Ligue or two as this game goes on, Kolodny Farm, one of those maps where actually light guns occasionally are not terrible, so we'll see. Lots of Volks with STGs being able to take a pretty smart fight here, forcing the American officer back. Panzer II cycles out for a repair. The Puma looking a little bit awkward, kind of going arse first into a fight here, but does spin around. Where's the Stuart in all this? The Stuart holding the backfield right here. Nice back and forth game this, but if we look at the scoreline, it looks like PFC up at 4-6-7 over the 3-1-3 of PFC. So actually, whilst this game has been... Oh, he gets the 50 cal. Oh, this is massive, because now if he picks up that 50 cal... I mean, I think he definitely wants that. It doesn't want to garrison it with Storm Pioneers. If we can get some Volks in here to grab it, that would be lovely. But yeah, as I was saying, despite being a relatively back and forth game in terms of field control and how these engagements have actually gone, it is PFC who's off to a stark lead, demonstrating his masterful control of the victory points in the early game so far. PFC going to commit smoke pots here so he can steal PFC's 50 cal. And it looks like he should probably get away with that. A lot of very angry American forces here. Oh no, these Storm Pioneers, they are actually going to get away. The Stuart coming really wants this 50 cal, and he could get it. The Puma is in the hood, but its engine is a bit busted, so PFC reticent to commit that, and you have to agree that's a tough thing to do. Storm Pioneers, there we go, they fixed the engine immediately. The Panzer II also not quite repaired, but could come in and help. Yeah, this scoreline differential, though, is the real story of this game. Neither PFC has sort of broken the other, but, PFC just maintaining slightly better control over the victory points is going to put PFC in a really hard place as this game goes on. He's going to be obligated to take some really difficult fights. He loses some Fallschirmjäger, so there we go. Finally, PFC drawing blood, finding some real damage here against PFC, who, to be fair, we've had a couple of lucky fallbacks for both players, but I feel like PFC really has been coming out ahead here. So it looks like most of the Axis army is just getting turned around. Well, PFC is stacking a ton of manpower, actually. I wonder what that's about. He's saving a lot of fuel as well, but he doesn't have Schwer Panzer HQ. So I'm not quite sure what that's about, if I'm honest. Oh, 50 cal in a lovely position here, covering the approach into this building. That's so annoying. 50 cal getting set up to deal with the 50 cal, though. Wow, this is really annoying. Having all these units suppressed here is actually buying PFC a lot of time to strengthen his hold over the midline of the map. Finally, US forces able to get out on the map and get some scoreline damage inflicted on PFC, who, you know, time is a luxury he has right now. He can definitely sustain a little bit of map presence inferiority. He still has a 150 odd ticket lead here, so that's pretty spicy. Fallschirmjäger's just getting parachuted deep into enemy lines to grab the cutoff, though. Spicy. Loving it. Oh, this is just a great game. I'm really glad that we hopped into this game. It's like we got ourselves a real good one to kick things off today. Always a good sign. These Fallschirmjägers are just doing damage back here. This is looking really nasty. They're going to get the cutoff. I mean, they got the cutoff, but they're actually going to cement it, so... They could have gotten a Faust on the Stuart there as well. That's definitely in range, but it looks like PFC not quite paying attention. PFC going to get away with that Stuart there. Axis forces now resurgent, pushing out. This has been so back and forth. It seems PFC quite evenly matched with PFC here. And this has been constant action, this game. Absolutely constant action. So Major Tech now finished for PFC. That's going to give him access to the top tier of the American tech. He doesn't have much fuel to spend there, though. Looks like he also decided to sort of do a bit of side teching. We do see Captain on the field, BAR present and correct. That's going to enable him to grab an M1 AT gun, which does make a lot of sense. This Panzer II and this Puma for PFC still being prolific on the field, still definitely being the defining feature of PFC's play in this game. And yeah, PFC recognizing that he needs to find some additional tools to help limit the efficiency and possibly cobble together a kill on these wind-up toys. So he's going to be going for the M180 gun. I do like the choice, and I also like side-teching to Captain. Of course, side-teching with American forces is so much more appealing because you get a beautiful, awesome officer squad, which is like pretty strong to do to help as well. This Panzer II getting so edgy, gets baited into some mines by this giant blob of American infantry. Lieutenant is here with a Zook. The Panzer II going to try and kite back. Meanwhile, additional combat going on the map looks like well, looks like this basically, but I'm going to keep my eyes on the Panzer II here that's stricken and being pursued here. Volk's here for support though, so that the lieutenant may get one more shot to destroy the Panzer II. Oh, he even connects, but it's not a kill. Yeah, you can't keep pursuing there. This is just too much Axis stuff. Okay, so meanwhile in the south, Puma. Whoa, what is this Puma doing? Does he think he can come through and just pick off an ambulance? This is ballsy. There's no 180 gun here. Oh, he dodges around it though. Okay, there's the ambulance. Gets the hit. But the lieutenant is here and the Stuart. Why is this? Oh, the Stuart's so low, so that's what he was really coming in for. Okay. Wow, lovely little drive-by there from the Puma. Actually going to get out intact. The Panzer II right now being repaired. Storm Pioneers at 2-star vet are going to turn that one round pretty quickly. Would love to see a metal detector come onto those units. We've already seen PFC making use of his commander's, what is it called? Rifleman Defensive Structures ability. We're seeing mines out on the map. So yeah, would love to see a metal detector come down on these Storm Pioneers. That would be really good. Obviously, it's also going to bolster their repair rate. I'm getting a little bit concerned about... Okay, here comes the Schwervermacht. I was about to say, I'm getting a bit concerned about the tech here for PFC. He's stacking 225 fuel, 900 manpower. Jeez. Wow. So this game... I mean, that speaks to us to how well PFC's been doing in this game, actually. Finding such value out here. He's up 215 points in the scoreline, and he's dominating in terms of resources to the extent that he's got, like, essentially 3 unit choices tucked away in his pocket here, ready to pick. He's going to lose this 50 cal perhaps here. Looks like the captain going to angle for some additional shots into the falling back MG. Would love to pick this one back up for the American forces. Shots are coming down, but it's not going to connect. PFC getting lucky again here. PFC getting unlucky and not finding the wipe. So let's crack the tack here. Axis forces just taking a second here. You can see plenty of units falling back, which means American forces, which are just now pushing out of the base, ought to be able to push up, grab some ground, hopefully stabilize the bleeding. 217 now looking very precarious at the 20-minute mark in this game for PFC. Desperately needs to demonstrate better control over these VPs, and he's going to be obliged to do so if he wants to stay in this game moving forwards. Panzer II continuing to police American infantry, though. This has been such a good Panzer II. 17 kills, 3 stars of veterancy now up. The the Puma also looking pretty spicy here for PFC. And I don't know, I think as the American player, what do we do here? I feel like if you take a Sherman, it's going to help you in the short term, but it's then just going to get hard countered by whatever Schwerpanzer HQ stuff. Where's the Schwerpanzer HQ? It's coming down here. Whatever Schwerpanzer HQ stuff that PFC decides to build. So I feel like as the American, you're kind of priced into getting a Jackson here. I mean, right? If you don't get a Jackson, don't you just die to whatever PFC chooses? I feel like that might be the case. Shermans are definitely okay, but I don't really feel like they match up very well against any of the OKW Schwerpanzer HQ choices. And there's already a Puma on the field, so if you're, it's going to be a Sherman. Why? Just save up a bit longer and get a Jackson. I don't like this Sherman very much. Oh no, he's probably going to lose the Stuart here. Was that AP ammo coming down off the 50 cal? Yeah, it was. So the 50 cal actually damn near getting the kill on the Stuart there. Limps away. PFC getting a bit lucky there. PFC using the 50 cal armor piercing mode. A rare time that we see Axis forces using 50 cal AP ammo, but it's happening today. Fallschirmjäger's up here in north, going to be trying to take back this VP, and to be honest, there's just no support up here. The Panzer II in the hood, going to come through here, going to start lawnmowering these riflemen, and PFC in a real bad place now. He has so much work to do on the map, and trailing so heavily, despite never being broken in any big fight, or having any like horrendous unit wipes or losses. I mean, yeah, there's been some unit wipes and losses here and there, but nothing like where you're like, that's game! But yeah, this game looking pretty bad right now. Wow, PFC feels bold enough. He feels okay relying on his wind-up toys. He's going to be going for another Schwervermax Schlepper, so that tells us he's looking to complete the tech tree and go for that crushing King Tiger late game. And, you know, he nearly has the fuel. By the time that battle group at HQ is actually complete, he probably is going to be very close to having the right amount of fuel. But this does provide a slightly extended window for the Sherman to be effective on the map. Okay, no, he is actually going to go for a Panzer IV, so I think that's in response to seeing the Sherman. He's like, you know what? I actually don't want to let this Sherman have a bubble of time where it's going to be very effective on the map. I would rather just counterpick the Sherman right now with a strong Axis unit, and then still behind that have the option of KT or whatever I want to do in the late game. Then you have to think for PFC that does make a lot of sense. That's going to put PFC in a really tough spot. And I just don't know that PFC has the time. These are the kind of squad whips you just... I mean, that is massive. You can't really be hemorrhaging your core infantry squads at this point in the game when you're this far behind, and you desperately need as much map presence and as many pushing infantry as you can to be taking these all-important VPs on the map. So I guess crucially, PFC does have command over the central VP. That puts him at slow bleed, but he's at 189 under 409, a crushing 300-point deficit for PFC here. And PFC has all the time in the world to just tech up, get King Tiger, or whatever else he wants, you know. I would say that this map is like maybe a C+ for King Tiger. Like, I think the King Tiger is a very map-dependent unit because it's so slow. The more that the more time the King Tiger has to spend traversing between different areas of the map to take fights, the worse it is. And on some maps, I'm going to use Langreskar as an example. You know, the King Tiger can basically be everywhere at once because it has enough range and the map is so small. But on Kolodny Farm, because of this 3-lane structure, because there are so many more line-of-sight blockers, it's actually a little bit harder for the King Tiger to be so relevant. Everywhere at once. So yeah, I'd say this is like a reasonable map for the King Tiger. It is acceptable, but not particularly. It doesn't shine especially on this map. I mean, sometimes a King Tiger is just still good because it represents such an overwhelming like force, and it can still just break your opponent off of a few lucky shots. But yeah, this is one of those maps where like just based on the map, it's not the best for a KT. Having said that though, actually, if you're able to push the KT into like this area here and establish a position here with the KT, then it does become very dominant because of the way this map is, again, designed. The closer you are to your opponent's base, the more narrow sort of area that they have to push out from. So if you can get the KT here, that forces your opponent to come out through the KT, and then it starts getting really dangerous. But I mean, a KT that far forward has vulnerabilities of its own. So anyway. So American forces actually off the clock for a minute here. The Sherman going to be looking after the southern VP, while in mid we've got Overwatch provided by an M1 AT gun and assorted infantry. So PFC doing what he needs, or doing what they need to for now to stay in the game. But I mean, this can't last forever. PFC is teching, and PFC is going to have the choice of, well, I mean, whatever late game composition they want here. So the Panzer IV is down on the field, and it's going to reveal itself up in north. I wonder if the Sherman's going to transition, fancying a piece of this. Whoa, comes forward. Puma here, though. 2-star Puma. Weapon accuracy and rate of fire. Yeah, so at 3 stars when it gets the weapon potency. So at 2 stars, it definitely threatens a Sherman. But at 3 stars, a Puma basically dominates a Sherman because it fires so quickly and almost every hit penetrates. Like, I've played many a game where I've been able to micro a Puma to... Oh, he gets the ambulance. Panzer IV coming in for a dive here. But I've played many a game where I've been able to defeat multiple Shermans with my Puma. Okay, this is savage now. Losing the ambulance. We've lost the lieutenant. This American roster just, unfortunately, now looking quite small. But he finds, crucially, able to inflict counter losses. But PFC is just stacking so much manpower. I don't fully understand how... I mean, has he just been dominating this hard? He's just not had to be spending much manpower. It hasn't looked that way, but I mean, it's evidently been true. And now we've got a fight here. Panzer IV going to be taking on the Sherman. Sherman scrambling to load AT rounds. There we go. It's now loaded, so it can start contributing meaningfully. Major is here with the Zook, but he's probably going to get wiped. You can't be standing here fighting. Jeez, this lieutenant... this Major solo, he gets wiped. And like I was just saying, you can't be losing these squads. PFC doesn't have the manpower that PFC does, and therefore is just going to be totally unable to replace these losses. Every single squad wipe against PFC, massively impactful right now. He's under the gun. Finally, Axis forces get onto the middle VP, and I think for PFC, this might be checkmate. PFC just putting together a masterful show of Axis domination here. And, I mean, as PFC, what do you do here? I honestly, like... What do you do? He has enough fuel to get, like, another fuel choice. Did he lose the Sherman? Okay, he didn't actually lose the Sherman. I didn't think so. Has he just retired this Stuart for now? Oh, he's using the vehicle crew to turbo repair the Sherman. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, this Panzer II immediately getting to 2 stars of veteranry. The Panzer IV getting to 2 stars of veteranry. The Panzer II looking so smart. He's actually just going to go for another Panzer IV. And this is the kind of medium tank construction that I can get behind. The kind of medium tank spam that I like. When your opponent is on the back foot and you just want to convert your resources into damage to your opponent's face, that's when medium tanks are really good. Just keep them on the build queue, keep them coming out. Each medium tank snowballs on top of the other medium tanks that are out and just slams the door on your opponent in this game. And now I just really don't see any way for PFC to come back in this game. He's got Captain, 3 squads of riflemen, against a ridiculously 3-dimensional, big, multifaceted, fully fledged, fully functional Axis roster here. And PFC putting together something of a masterclass here. Okay, so he picks off the M1 anti-tank gun. That's okay, but not insurmountable losses here for the Axis player. An ambitious recrew here. Probably not... Okay, he actually does get the M1 out of there. Really didn't think that was going to happen. 50 cal forced to flee. This does represent a lot of American DACA. Riflemen are going to be capping mid, but he's still under like a double cap. He's still hemorrhaging pretty hard right now. Jackson finally coming on the queue. A ray of hope perhaps for PFC in this game, but it still feels like a long shot. He's going to have to somehow make do with such a small infantry roster. And like, if he loses any of these infantry squads, it's just over. Wow, the Puma on 3 stars going to come forward, biting off more than it can chew though. Oh wow, that'll be a dead Puma. We take those as... Oh, he gets the last hit! Oh no. Finding such a lucky trade. PFC getting so lucky there. Now the 2 Panzer IVs going to overrun. They want the Stuart. And now it's been a trade of a Puma for a Stuart and a Sherman. That's pretty good. The 3/4 ton ambulance going to die again here. And that's game. That is game. Marauding Panzer IVs in the base. No answer to be seen. Sure, they fall foul of some mines, but that is over. And PFC establishing once and for all who is the best PFC in this game. It's definitely PFC. Wow, what an interesting game that was. Just a fantastic dynamic battle here. It felt like it was very back and forth, and both players had chances to shine, and I think it's fair to say that both players really got to achieve the unit composition that they were aiming for. Perhaps less so PFC, actually. United States PFC was like... didn't really get to the late game tech he wanted, but all the way through the mid game, I feel like the American composition was fine. Opting to side tech to captain, fine. And yeah, just kind of okay. And in the early game as well, I kind of really liked the American roster. I actually felt like the Axis roster was a bit lacking, but somehow PFC able to hold it together with low numbers of. I mean, he only ever had 3 Volks max, I think, in this game. And just riding a very successful Panzer II, 25 kills, nearly making it to 5 stars of vet. What an awesome Panzer II this was. Every time the American forces were going to find some ground on the map, this Panzer II, it feels like, was corralling them back, harrying them back, achieving squad wipes on 50 cows, threatening M1 anti-tank guns, paving the way for its Puma ally to limit the efficiency of that Stuart so hard. And then yeah, you can see the thinking there from PFC that he was going to complete they were going to complete the tech tree and then get King Tiger perhaps. But then you can just clearly tell there was a moment where PFC was just like, you know what? I'm going to build a Panzer IV now to limit the effectiveness of my opponent's Sherman, and then that Panzer IV was dominating and flourishing, the American player clearly struggling to deal with it, and that's the time when building more medium tanks is really good. And like Soviet players, please take note, don't just be building T-34s. I say this so many times, but I still see it so often on the ladder. So yeah, just don't be building T-34s into Axis opponents who are like super well equipped and waiting to deal with your stuff. It's okay to just save for another unit. If that T-34 is going to be really soggy, then like just don't go for it, mate. So in 8 minutes, we've got a game here between Akazawalzumi, catchy name there, friend, and Jesulin, which I probably do want to cast, to be honest. We've got Stop versus Noah, Luca versus White Eat, CCR at 101st, Felix, blah blah blah, Yukino, Faramir. So it looks like PFC, having vanquished the mirror, is taking a break right now. So, okay, I'm going to hop in and watch this game. I'm going to stop this video, and then we're going to stitch them together so there's not an 8-minute gap in the middle here. So, just for now, this is Magpie842 signing out, but I shall be rather promptly, from your point of view, signing back in.
The squad of pioneers has arrived.
And I'm back. Greetings, what's up, and welcome back. Okay, so the map here will be Nexus, and spawning in the Westus will be Akazal... Okay, sorry, wait. Will be Akazawalzumi. Okay. I think I'm just going to call him Zumi. Playing as the Wehrmacht forces and rocking with Ostier, Elite Doctrine, and Defensive Doctrine? Yes, I got it. Alright, Elite Troops Doctrine. Okay, pretty close. And spawning in the east. Playing as the United States forces, it's going to be Jesulin. So yeah, definitely 2 of the... well, actually, no. You know what? Zumi I've never cast before, but Jesulin is an absolute monster as well. So yeah, definitely some top-end play, hopefully, on the roster here. I mean, if Zumi's getting matched up against Jesulin, then he's probably pretty good. It could be that Zumi is like one of the top-tier players who's just playing under a different screen name for the day, or for now, for whatever reason, not quite sure. Looks like, is this double MG42 opening? Wow, yeah. So Zumi already doing something a little bit unusual that we don't often see. MG42 going to get set up here to grab these riflemen once they're done capping. Here we go. They're probably just going to wander straight into the... Ooh, no. Actually finding a way around this MG? Oh no, that's annoying. MG going to redeploy here though. And, wow, masterful movement by Jesulin, not taking even a single barrage from this MG42. That's pretty nice. And probably going to be working his way around its flanks as well. Gah, sneaky. Up in the north, though, Pioneers moving forward relatively uncontested. Actually, no, I quite like this build, because Pioneers are quite cheap, right? So they can go forwards, take a bit of damage. They're very cheap to replace in terms of, reinforcement cost. And they're being backed up by MG42. So as long as you keep them, as long as you keep the MG42s and the Pioneers supporting each other, this does represent quite a potent way of dealing with the American early game strength in their riflemen. So anyway, second MG42 going to be showing up into mid here. That's going to get deployed in a nice position, but actually there already are rear esh in the flank here, so not that they particularly threaten an MG42. Rear esh, not the most damaging of units at the best of times. Riflemen, however, finding a lovely way up on top of this MG42. Oh, and that's going to be nice. Not getting a single barrage off, and that'll just be a force back on this MG42. They'll have to GTFO. Yep, there it goes. So nice stuff here for Jesulin, outmaneuvering this composition here from Zumi, this techless composition actually. Now it looks like this has been a rush battle phase 1 into Panzer Grenadiers stuff, so I really like this. This is a techless opening for Wehrmacht, which is not commander dependent, which is quite rare. It's not often we see players elect to use this style, so I'm very excited to see exactly how Zumi is going to navigate this this phase of play. Flammenwerfer popping up on top of some of his pioneers now, so adding that spice into the roster here. Panzer Grenadiers are on the field at this relatively early timing, and that's a unit which, microed correctly, can help you deal with the high DPS American squads. Panzer Grenadiers, though, they do represent a very nice target. They are expensive, relatively, per model. They do feed veterancy more than most other infantry squads in the game. So, yep. Have to be careful with the Panzer Grenadiers, but this... Oh no, the MG42 gets a muck wiped. That's tough. And now the Panzer Grenadiers here are probably going to be insufficient to maintain control over this area. They need some support. These pioneers are going to come in. You can't be giving this MG42 to the Americans at this time. The only thing worse than losing a squad before 5 minutes in the game is losing an MG that your opponent then grabs, because like you've lost a squad and they've gotten an extra unit, and that often is just so much momentum in the early game that it can be very difficult to overcome. But thankfully that's not the story we're going to watch here today. Zumi going to be able to maintain control over his MG42, not electing to recrew it just yet, but I imagine, here we go, some pioneers will be in the hood soon to grab that one. It's going to be Struppen Doctrine versus Recon Support now. So Struppen's going to be entering the field of the cheap 200 manpower. Yeah, 200 manpower, right? Yeah. The cheap 200 manpower, 6-man, how can I put this, sort of inferior infantry squad going to be coming onto the field. But I mean, inferior is really subjective. Ostruppen do what they're meant to do incredibly well, which is chip in consistent but low DPS to fights, and capture ground and just do things very cheaply, like grab MG42s like they've just done. And then, you know, even later on, they can be pretty spicy. They can get Fausts, and you can even buy them an LMG42 if you really want to, once you have Battle Phase 3, I believe. So, yeah, nothing wrong with Struppen. In fact, quite a lot right with them. Yeah, it does require Battle Phase 3 for that MG42. So, yeah. This MG42 going to get pushed away. Lieutenant Tech, of course, going to be on the field here for Jesulin, and he's going to be purchasing a utility car. So this is relatively... I mean, it's just an interesting take on the Recon Support Company, isn't it? Because if you remember, recently on the channel we saw Recon Support get picked, and then it was a Captain Tech opener. I want to say, yeah, Captain Tech opener, and that seems to make a lot of sense, because that way you pick the captain, you get the M1 anti-tank gun, which is really cool. And then you get the Greyhound, which kind of combines the utility of a Stuart and a utility car. So it kind of makes a lot of sense, because you get to have all the benefits of a Captain Tech opener with most of the benefits of a Lieutenant Tech opener. The only thing you don't have is the 50 cal. But it looks like Jesulin is going to be using the Recon Support Company to bolster a Lieutenant Tech opener, and we're going to have to see exactly how that's going to look as this game moves on. Like the Mechanized Company has finished for our Axis player here, and that means that a 222 going to be coming onto the field here. Looks like Jesulin not quite expecting this. Going to be popping smoke and falling back. A web of supporting American infantry here actually will save the M20 utility car down to the last pixel of its health almost. That was so close, but it will escape. The 222 here going to do its best to kite this infantry. There we go. Tank Buster Grenade is going to connect. That is slightly annoying for Zumi here, but not the end of the world. Zumi actually has a unit of Ostruppen out on the map who are looking to connect to Faust, and he gets the utility car. Wow, Jesulin, for all his skill getting that utility car out of a sticky bind, takes his eyes off of it for a second once he believes it's safe, and there's just a marauding unit of Struppen, of all things, able to connect to Faust and find the kill on that scout car. Very frustrating there for Jesulin, but not the end of the world. His roster's still looking just fine. Has the 3/4 ton ambulance for home heals, and has the 50 cal, has the Lieutenant Tech still out there, and in a straight up fight, you know what? Actually, no. In a straight-up fight, this Axis roster does win. I mean, if all these units here fight all these units here, it's going to be a difficult fight. But with the correct flanking, if he can ameliorate these MG42s somehow, then Jesulin can definitely take a fight here. And even if he is behind in terms of composition, he won't be for long. Looks like Paratrooper's going to be getting mixed into the roster. It's the airdropped combat group coming down here, so that comes with a packing howitzer, and it comes with all the rest. You know what, actually? Okay, cool. So, you know how I was just saying about how Recon Support Company lets you take Captain Tech, but still kind of have access to a lot of Lieutenant Tech advantages through the Greyhound? Well, actually, it seems that by going Lieutenant Tech and using the Airdrop Combat Group, you get some of the advantages of the Captain as well, insofar as you get a Pack Howitzer. This is the soggiest advantage of the Captain. This is not... Nobody goes Captain to build a Pack Howitzer, or at least it's a rare game. Normally you go Captain for the M1 anti-tank gun and the flak track. So this is like the least good bit. If the Airdrops Combat Group could drop you an M1 anti-tank gun, I'm sure most players would love this commander a lot more. But it's just interesting to see that you get some really atypical compositions and much more diversity as American forces by picking this doctrine. Anyway, looks like a tank buster grenade has again found the 222. It's being pressured by a lieutenant. Riflemen are coming in here to close the noose. Pioneers here are going to be trying to buy some time, and that they will, but they're going to have to run here. They cannot stay there trading for long. Panzer Grenadier is going to be coming to the fore here to support this stricken 222 as it tries to fall back. There we go, and I believe he will actually get out of here with the German scout car. So nicely done there for Zumi. Going to keep that one alive for now. Second squad of Panzer Grenadiers on the roster, and I am really liking this infantry company-less build here from Zumi. When you don't go for an infantry company with Wehrmacht, I always feel a little bit concerned, because one of the greatest strengths of the Wehrmacht faction is the flexibility and power of their early game weapon teams. And Grenadiers. You know, Grenadiers are okay. They have a lot of disadvantages. They are brittle. They don't trade so well against most other early game squads. But they're still a really useful squad that scales very nicely into the late game. And so when you say to yourself, I'm not going to use these strengths of my faction, like, a little part of me gets a little bit scared. But now that Panzer Grenadiers and MG42s can be built from the central HQ, these techless openings, this one, I have not felt worried at all for Zumi. I feel like at all stages of the game he's had an acceptable composition against American forces. And that, let's be real here, that's the test. If your early game composition can't handle Americans doing American things, by which I mean leading out with strong units of infantry, supporting them with strong officers who you just get by teching, you know, if your early game composition can't deal with that, then, you know, you're gonna have a bad time. So anyway, M8 utility car, M8 Greyhounds now on the field, so that's going to be pinging in damage against these units. The 50 cals finished on that one, so this is going to be a really smart choice. There are Zwei 100 20 scout cars on the field now, and here they come. They're sharking around, looking to put together something on this Greyhound. It has to be scarce here. I think he did see the two 222s, and in fact, if he was paying attention, he'll have seen the one he just saw didn't have a Star of Veterancy, so hopefully Jesulin is cognizant of the fact that there are two Axis scout cars out there lurking, so that means he has to be a bit more careful with this Greyhound. You can't expose it to a window where these two 222s could come in and destroy it. I am getting quite the workout, aren't I, so far this morning in terms of like casting, saying a lot of things like 222s and constantly referring to each player as PFC. Just an interesting little bit of like mental gymnastics to be doing this early in the morning. But anyway, the 222s holding strong in this position right now, firing into American infantry. How's this Pack Howitzer been doing? 3 kills on the Pack Howitzer. I'm surprised and impressed. Let's take a look at the scoreline. About even so far. No giant resource income differential so far, but Jesulin right now with slightly better field control. But you know, a fairly even game so far. It looks like Zumi so far is a good match for Jesulin, which is quite the compliment. See some Pack Howitzer shells raining in somewhere.
There's a major reporting for action.
Wow, major tech, that was quick. M1919 LMG racks. Oh no, wait, you can just upgrade paratroopers with them. Sorry, it's not the racks, it's just you can upgrade them. My bad. So okay, paratroopers are going to have 1919s. That's going to make them quite the spicy combat unit as we move forward here. Let's quickly check the tech for the Axis player. No sign of Battle Phase 2. 160 fuel, 540 manpower. Now the stack for Zumi. So could definitely afford to start doing some teching. And he's going to have to quite soon, because in about 10 seconds or 30 seconds, the American player is going to have enough fuel to put a Sherman on the queue, and there just aren't really the answers right now. He has liked the mechanized HQ, so I suppose he can build pack guns, but I don't know, man. This is not the best map for pack guns because it's so open in the middle. Well, I suppose that helps pack guns to some extent, but it feels like it's quite easy to get a flank on pack guns if that's your only AT. Wow, these 222s really are like chewing down these American squads. Ugh. It's pretty gribbly stuff there. Plenty of fighting going on right now, so please keep an eye on the unit icons at the top of the screen. I really hope I don't miss any squad wipes or anything like that, but there's just such a lot going on right now. Ooh, Pack House are almost finding a 222 there. Alright, so here come the LMG toting paratroopers. They're probably going to force these scout cars back a little bit here. Where's the M8? Okay, joining the fight here from the south. What an interesting early game. Loving what I'm seeing so far. A cargo train will deliver a small amount of crates also contain... Say what? I'm so unfamiliar with what Ostrup Doctrine can do these days. Will deliver a small amount of fuel and munitions, also contain MG42 and a pack fight. I mean, that is an expensive ability to use, but it seems very useful.
They just kicked us up a notch.
Okay, so an MG42 here going to be trying to fall back past some paratroopers. Looks like it will just about make it. That Sherman, as predicted, is on the build queue at a relatively early timing here for Jesulin. Jesulin clearly coming into this game with a tech path in mind and sticking to it. Shreks have finished, though, on some of these Panzer Grenadiers, so the tools are beginning to appear in the Axis roster to deal with this Sherman, but that won't be enough. One unit of Panzer Grenadiers with Shreks, you know, will get battered aside by one good high explosive shell hit, so...
Territory is out of contact.
Okay, Battle Phase 2, and no, Battle Phase 3 on the queue now. So 2 finished, 3 on the way. Just a really awesome game. Both of these players busting out a bit of spice. This is what I like to see. I'm loving these builds. MG42, in their own words, being massacred right now. Panzer Grenadier is going to be falling back here as well. This is a lot of fire. Are these squads... Is that MG42 even going to make it? Nope. But there are some Struppen here who can just re-grab that. There we go. And the 222 still just lawnmowering Yanks here. Double Flammenwerfer Pioneers here going to be pushed aside by the Sherman, which thunders forward. There is no real answer here. I mean, the Shrek Panzer Grenadiers are in base. They're coming out. They are reinforced. Okay. But they won't be enough. There's a Greyhound with this as well, so even worse. And he's loaded on AT rounds right now. Oh my goodness me. Okay, the Sherman coming in hard here. Second pair of Panzer Shreks going to be finishing. Okay, so okay, that's the plan. All right. So if you go for this composition, it seems that the plan is, yeah, you go for 2 units of Panzer Shrek toting Panzer Grenadiers. The Shreks are going to finish on this squad in just an instant here. There we go. And this represents a scary amount of anti-tank firepower now. 4 Panzer Shreks is good, but these squads are still fragile. And so this is enough, but only just, and it's still a very fragile anti-tank solution. It doesn't take much to go wrong for these units to have to fall back, and it doesn't take much more than that to go wrong for one of them to get wiped. And then you're into hot water if you're Zoomy in this game. So yeah, interesting composition. I'm loving this. 2 MG42, 2 Pioneer, 2 Struppen, 2 Panzer Grenadier, 2 222s. Just a really awesome composition, which he's managed to keep alive, which he's using to good effectiveness against an intimidating American roster of just like riflemen, 50 cals, pack howitzer, paratroopers, officers, Sherman, Greyhound. There was a utility car, but he's managed to deal with that one. So, yep. Good work here from Zumi. But he's slowly but surely being pushed back. Let's crack the tack and you can see the story. Struggling to connect a fuel point up here in north, unable to maintain possession over the victory points in mid and south. So under the clock right now, and his composition just in need of some support. What the? Okay, I've seen it all now. Artillery field officer is going to be on the field. Panzerwerfer are going to be the choice. I don't even... This is not intuitive whatsoever. I'm not saying it's wrong. This might be awesome. It's just not what I expected. Wow. So here I was thinking that he was going to try and compete in the armor war, but actually he's going to go for a Panzerwerfer. A pretty early Panzerwerfer. And he's also going to go for an artillery field officer, which I actually just can't remember what the hell this even does. So, taking the lead, the officer will command his unit to draw fire and create a diversion. And then he had to fall back, so I didn't get to read the other abilities. Wow, this represents quite a tightening of the noose here, though. Axis forces substantially cut off. You can see on the minimap, this represents a brutal concave for Jesulin here. Look at this concave. Axis units surrounded and being gunned down. Panzerwerfer taking some shots though. And it looks like, yeah, Jesulin heard the Panzerwerfer and fell back his most obvious target, which was this clustered infantry squads on the doorstep of the Axis base. I mean, he passed the test there. There's a test there, which is, can you respond to this Panzerwerfer before the rockets obliterate your units? And Jesulin, you know, this is the mark of a top-tier player, absolutely passes that test, with time to spare even. So yeah, artillery field officer. So he also gets artillery smoke barrage, which you can call in, which is apparently a munitions-free ability. Interesting. Inspiring aura. Direct and motivate nearby soldiers and vehicle crews to fight harder. Very interesting. Coordinated barrage. Well, artillery pieces, mortars, and rocket artillery will barrage the target location. Okay, sounds good. And heavy mortar barrage requires vet 1. Officer will direct heavy mortars to pummel the... So, I mean, this looks like a very interesting unit. I'm amazed we don't see it more often. How much supply cap does he take up? 7. Why don't people use this unit more often? I'm not sure. We're going to find out. Let's see if it does any good in this game. 222s here out on the field, but the Sherman starts rolling in. Panzerschreck equipped Panzer Grenadiers are here, but they're just getting shoved around. Jesulin, no stranger to microing a medium tank to deal with those. One of the 222s does go down. The Panzer Grenadiers are forced back, so the Sherman can continue its rampage unabated here. Axis infantry trying to do its best, but there's just a lot of American guns surrounding them, and this is looking increasingly dire now for Zumi. I really liked the way he was looking in the early game, but the fragility of his composition now being exposed. The Panzer Grenadiers, not quite enough AT to really convincingly cobble together any meaningful damage or kills on these units. The other 222 goes down. Now Zumi flatlining on resources, no map presence whatsoever. Axis units desperate to try and access the map, but it's not really happening. Jesulin retreating his armored units like a master here. Just going to keep them contributing damage. Panzerwerfer gets used again, but look, Jesulin just knows. He just knows. He just knows. And, I mean, a slight hit from one of those rockets. 2 kills, some veterancy onto the Werfer, but that Werfer, to be honest, not looking super great in this game. I think that was a really... Pack Howitzer even going to grab an MG42 here. And I don't want to call this one too early, but this might just be over. Like, if you're Zumi, yeah, this is over. Wow, what a game! What a game! Jesulin's just a monster! Oh my god. I mean, for a game that looked so interesting and sort of back and forth in the early stages, and it really was that, you know, there was no lie, that was the texture of the early game. Jesulin just navigating the early mid-game to a conclusive, like, sure you can, shattering the jaw here of Zumi, whose very left field composition. I feel like this is a really good tech build. I think Vermac players, pull out your notebooks and write down this build order, because this was sick. I like what I see. But I'm going to go ahead and say I don't think this is the best map to be relying on double Panzer Grenadier Panzerschrecks for your AT. I think you need something else. I think you need something more reliable, because the trouble with the Panzer Grenadiers, they have very high damage output against vehicles once they get those Shreks. 2 Panzerschrecks is like quite a meaty hit. But they're so fragile. As soon as they really take pretty much any kind of fire from anything, you kind of have to be hovering over that fallback button. And if your intended target is a Sherman, well, I mean, one high explosive shell that hits that squad is basically going to mean that you have to fall it back or risk losing it. And if your AT resources don't really have the durability that they need to have the time on target to cobble together significant damage or a kill, then they're not effective. And I feel like this map, because look how open this area is, right? Those Panzer Grenadiers are all... The American player is always going to see them coming and have time enough to get a couple of shots into them from the Greyhound, from the Sherman, from the supporting infantry. And then your AT resources are forced back. That's not a problem by itself, as long as the first big fuel choice unit, I'm not going to count the 222s, as long as the first tech unit that you purchase from Zumi's perspective is not a Panzerwerfer. That Panzerwerfer did surprise me a bit, and I think on another map where the Panzer Grenadiers can be leaned on a bit more to like achieve their role, I think this Panzerwerfer is probably fine. But on this particular map, the Panzerwerfer just felt like a waste. Certainly felt like it was too early. And so, I mean, what's a Panzerwerfer? 100 fuel, I believe, something like that? 85 fuel, okay. So if we take that 85 fuel and we purchase instead... I mean, what can we get there? We can get a Stug. We can almost get 2 Stugs with the 65 that's left over here. So 2 Stugs looks fine on this map. This is actually a great map for Stugs in my opinion. Again, because it's so open, those Stugs can really ply their trade relatively unimpeded in mid. The penalties for being an assault gun are just less acutely felt when the terrain's this open. And a brace of Stugs could have been fine. Panzer IV would have been okay as well. I certainly think the Panzer IV would probably have been better than this Panzerwerfer. And provided much more support for your Panzer Grenadiers with Shreks. So, yeah, I think the problem here for Zumi came in 2 stages: relying on just Panzer Grenadiers for your AT, and then going for the Panzerwerfer. I think on this map, I think don't rely on Panzer Grenadiers for your AT. Not against American forces. I just don't really see how you're ever going to be able to cobble together enough shots with those Panzer Shreks against a competent American player who's using all of their units correctly. I just don't see how you're really going to get enough time on target to get enough shots or damage with these Panzer Grenadiers. I'm not saying like just rely on back guns or don't use Panzer Grenadiers with Shreks, but I just don't think that they can be your only hard AT unit. Yeah. I guess that's it, really. So, I mean, as far as criticisms for Zumi goes, for Jesulin, I mean, sick build, executed deliciously. Like, that was just, like, boom, masterful. Shut the door in, like, 20 minutes hard on Zumi in this game. And nice. What else can I say? Jesulin just one of the most prolific monsters of the game, of the scene. So, yeah, I mean, that was 2 good games that we've had today. Fantastic stuff, because it's been a couple of days now where we've had games that have been interesting to watch and very fun to go through, but not exactly the closest or most unusual or sort of, most exciting necessarily games, which I still get a lot out of, and it's fine, and that's why I cast games from the ladder. But it's nice today that we've had 2 games that are just kind of all over the place, really, just like unusual tech, very back and forth action, very very interesting games to look at. So yeah, I believe that will conclude today's cast. Thank you very much for watching, and this for now, of course, Magpie 842 signing out.